All right, everybody, we've got some more people that have left for Palantir. Now, last week I reported NetApp's VP of Cloud Applications, Anthony Lee, is joining to lead Palantir. He's becoming the head of Apollo, which is a pretty big story that you're running the entire Apollo division. And the sort of thesis in that article that I wrote on dailypalantir.com was that, look, Palantir is the next wave and evolution of how a lot of managers and CEOs and C-suite executives are looking at where they are in their companies and seeing where the next growth curve is coming, seeing that it's going to happen in AI, machine learning, data analytics, big data, etc. Palantir is one of the premier companies that's going to be able to actually accelerate your career, accentuate your progress if you join them. And Palantir is also really exciting, right? You don't leave a nice cushy job where you're getting paid a lot of money, you probably have a lot of equity, all that stuff, to go somewhere where you might be making more money, might be making less money, but maybe have more of a challenge, right? No, I mean, people don't necessarily want to change. Change is uncomfortable. So if you're going to change and you're especially going to go work in a new company, in a new environment, a new culture, it's because there's something that attracts you about that. There's some mission in that company that's incredibly important to you. Well, that's what we are seeing with more people. So Peter Gray, shout out to Cameron, who's big on Palantir. I'll leave his Twitter in the description. He found that this screenshot, after 8 years at Deloitte, I'm venturing out to join Palantir Technologies. Thank you to everyone who has helped and will be helping me along my journey. So this is Peter Gray. This is LinkedIn right here. He was leading business transformation using Oracle NetSuite, and he was at Deloitte for a pretty long time. Now, in terms of what Deloitte is a major consulting firm, right? So he became a consultant November 2014, senior consultant, manager, senior manager. Becoming a senior manager is a very difficult thing to do. You're at one of the highest levels. I think the only thing above senior manager is like managing partner, director of partners, something that's a little bit above that. But to be 7 years in a consulting organization and essentially work on business strategy across the entire world is a big deal. And then to move to become a NetSuite architect for Palantir Technologies full time, that's also pretty cool. So when he says he was leading business transformation using Oracle NetSuite, now they're going to be using that, or they're going to be implementing that in the context of Palantir. He was also a NetSuite implementation consultant, so obviously he has a lot of experience with NetSuite. Another person who is making the jump and leaving for Palantir, which is awesome and really cool, given just more people are going to Palantir. Then we have another person. We are pleased to announce that Manik Sharma has joined Palantir as a head of supply chain and digital solutions. Manik brings decades of experience in supply chain technology to Palantir and will help propel our software forward, navigating this complex, dynamic industry. So Manik Sharma says, from today's uncertainty will emerge the leaders of tomorrow. To win, companies must evolve and be powered by technology and be define new operational benchmarks of performance. Now, before we get into who Manik Sharma is, it's also important to understand why what this means in the context of supply chain technologies. Remember that over the past 6 months, we've seen supply chains get flipped over, especially with the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Palantir has helped a lot of countries and a lot of governments and a lot of companies that were operating within that region to be able to figure out what they need to do with their supply chains. When all your supply chain centers shut down, when your factories shut down, when your raw materials, your commodities, the prices go through the roofs, and you need to be able to optimize how to still get an ROI and a bottom line on your profits, that requires intelligence, that requires data, that requires analytics, that requires being able to know what to do, when to do it at the exact moments where it's necessary to actually be able to take those jumps. And Palantir has been able to change it. Now, Manik Sharma, if we go here, this is his profile picture. He is now the head of supply chain and digital solutions at Palantir Technologies, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, like, to be the head of supply chain, that means when all supply chain issues arise in terms of the ability for Palantir to land new contracts and the ability for Palantir to help new companies deal with their supply chains, Manik Sharma is going to be one of the main people that's involved in this. So his history is also very interesting to understand. So Tata Steel, he was an operations manager. Tata Steel is one of the biggest companies in India, and it operates pretty largely. He was a VP of Industry Strategy at Kinaxis for 6 years and 7 months, supply chain professional from March 2000 all the way till 2012, essentially over those 12 years. He was the VP of Value Services at Coupa Software, and then he became the head of supply chain digital solutions at Palantir. Now, Coupa Software, we have this right here. Behold the power of business spend management. One cloud platform to manage all your transactions across procurement, payments, and supply chains. So 2 things here. Number one, cloud platforms are just very valuable, as you can see. I mean, the fact that Coupa, which I'm sure some of you guys didn't even know existed, I didn't even know existed, the fact that there are so many different cloud platforms that exist to be able to help businesses deal with all the things they have to deal with means that obviously the cloud is not even the future, it is the now. But second of all, it was a cloud platform to manage your transactions across procurement, payments, and supply chains. What does that mean? That means if you're a car vendor and you order a door from Japan, that door, you have to pay for that door. You have to also make sure that door is coming in at the right time and the right moment, that there's the right schedule behind that door, and that door fits in an overall supply chain in order for your cars to be built in a timely, efficient, and effective manner. There is cloud platforms like Coupa that manage the end-to-end ability for that door to come in through the door, for it to be paid for it to be shown in the supply chain, and for it to ultimately make your business more effective at the end of the day. So if he was the VP of the value services of Coupa software, and he ultimately, helped Coupa become a stronger company than it was before he joined, I think that ultimately impressed Palantir for him to become the head of supply chain and digital solutions. Again, to become the head of supply chain and digital solutions at a company is interesting because you're the head dog, you're the top honcho. So obviously Palantir thought that this guy had enough in him to be able to become that head dude to propel the industry a little bit more forward. Now, overall, what does this mean for Palantir writ large? Again, to me, the reason I'm reporting on this is because I think it's interesting to see people leave. Why do I think it's interesting to see people leave? Because if they're leaving, that means their jobs are cool, their jobs are okay, but Palantir is a better option. Either they're getting a decent amount of equity, either they're getting a higher salary bump, or they're seeing it as the next frontier of change. Like when you see people leave one job for another, things are changing. It's kind of like what's going on in the crypto space to some extent. Now, I'm not incredibly bullish on crypto, but a lot of the smartest engineers in the world are leaving the FANG jobs to go work on crypto. That doesn't mean crypto is going to be a success, but that does mean there is a lot of potential in that area, and it could be a success if you've got the smartest people in the world, instead of working on advertising on Facebook and Google, to go work on decentralized finance. So it doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't mean Palantir is absolutely going to be a winner, but it does show a hint of, hey, if the smartest people in the world are choosing to leave their fancy, cushy jobs to go work on something that's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more challenging, and take leadership roles in that, Anthony Lee becoming a leader of Palantir Apollo, Manik Sharma becoming a leader of Palantir Supply Chain Digital Solutions, then there's just a better opportunity there. There's a more unique opportunity. There's a better chance for that opportunity to become stronger, and there's a better opportunity for those people to actually find more meaning and purpose in their jobs because they're accelerating change at a different level. So overall, more and more people leaving to Palantir. Let me know if you find anyone that you see on LinkedIn, if you're digging around, that's also leaving for Palantir. But I think it's definitely promising to see a lot more people leave their current jobs to go to Palantir, especially in leadership roles, and see where that plays out over the long term. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. I will see you in the next one.